So I'm going to give a quick review of our Leupold LTO Tracker HD handheld thermal imaging device. You can see there, looking through it, I'm looking at some Nigerian dwarf goats. That is the palette. There are several different color palettes you can use. That's the one that has the highlighting. So it's white hot there with the highlighting of the red and orange when it's particularly hot. Of course, it adjusts as you pan it around. It does have an auto nook feature, which is nice. You don't have to re-nook it every so often as you do with some other devices. So that's the lag that you see occasionally as it's readjusting. And of course, it's showing you what it sees at the time, the color, differential of the whatever you're observing at the time. And it does have several different color palettes. There was high black, red, green, range, copper, and then back to white hot. And it also has black hot as well. White hot I kind of prefer. That's kind of the standard. Black hot isn't bad either. It has the terrain looks a little more natural when you're in black hot, but with white hot they jump out pretty good. You can see the goats back there in the distance. They kind of jump out at you there. They're probably 50 yards away if I had to guess this image. But they say you can detect heat up to 700 yards with it, and that's probably accurate. I mean, I think you could identify a human out to, maybe a couple hundred yards, and you could definitely see a human much further than that, around 500 yards or so. It also does digital zoom out to 6 power, and this has a 320 by 240 sensor in it, so 4 times what's in the FLIR Scout TK. There's a fuel tank that you can see the level pretty clearly. Pretty neat, just from the differential in the temperature. There's an RV. You can see the studs in the walls there, where the insulation is and is not. We have several different, I've had several over the years, different thermal imaging devices, handheld devices, rifle scope devices, by FLIR and by ATN. This is a pretty good little unit. I mean, bang for your buck. This is hard to beat. The one thing I'm not real wild about is you can't put it up to your eye directly. It's direct view, so there's no eyepiece. So for those with older eyes, you might have to hold it out a little bit further. So here's a side-by-side comparison of the units that we looked at to purchase. The first is the FLIR Scout TK, and the second is the Leupold LTO Tracker HD. The FLIR Scout TK has a 160 by 120 detector or microbolometer, and that's the most important factor for any kind of thermal imaging device, is the detector. The Leupold has a 320 by 240 detector. So while that may not sound like 320 is twice of 160, what really matters is the resolution when you multiply those out. So the FLIR Scout TK only has 19,200 pixels, whereas the Leupold has 76,800 pixels. So that's actually 4 times better resolution. So it's definitely worth the difference there, and that's the most important factor. There are some advantages though to the FLIR Scout TK. It's waterproof. The Leupold is not waterproof, but it does have Gorilla Glass. The Scout is rechargeable via USB, so that's nice. It's got about a 5-hour battery life, so it's a bit longer than the Leupold, which only has a 3-hour battery life, and that's on a CR123 battery. You can get those batteries, rechargeable and charge them just like you can with most batteries. But of course, the USB and the built-in rechargeable battery on this Scout is nice. Now, the Scout has a slightly better field of view at 20 degrees, where it's 18-degree field of view on the Leupold. There is no zoom on the Scout though, whereas the Leupold has 6 power digital zoom. So while that's not optical zoom, it's not as clear as optical zoom. It does help, obviously, to get you in, digitally a bit closer, so you've got it bigger on the screen of what you're looking at. The FLIR Scout comes in at 6 ounces, whereas the Tracker comes in at 7 ounces. So the Scout is 1 ounce lighter. This next one is also very important, and one of the deciding factors as to why we went with the Leupold, and that's that the Scout has around a 9 hertz frame rate. So that's considerably slower than the 25 hertz frame rate, on the Leupold. I mean, your eye, you're used to watching, videos around, 24 to 30 to even 60 frames per second. So a 9 hertz frame rate is very slow, and it's perceptibly slow, whereas the other one is close to your perception, so it doesn't really appear to be slow on the Leupold. The FLIR Scout has about a 5-second startup time, whereas the Leupold starts up in about 3 seconds, so that's an advantage for the Leupold. Now, there is a brightness adjustment on the Scout, which is nice if you're using it at night, whereas there is no brightness adjustment on the Leupold. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there is an eyepiece on the FLIR Scout and lens cap, so that's kind of an advantage there. You can put it right up to your eye. Advantage or disadvantage, depending on how you want to use it. The Leupold, you do have to hold it out a bit from your face. You can't put it right up to your eye because it's just a display screen. It's not magnified. There's no eyepiece or lens cap. It does not come with lens caps, although you can, of course, order those and add them, aftermarket. So all in all, that's why we went with the Leupold. I think it's a better unit and better bang for your buck. It's a bit more expensive. I think it was around $150 more. But that's worth it, I think, for the difference in capability, dramatic difference in the detector capability. One other thing I want to mention that I didn't put on the list is that the Scout does not have autofocus, so there's actually a focus adjustment. You've got to adjust that focus manually, whereas the Leupold does have autofocus, so that's automatic. And also, the Scout has the capability to save images via USB, and you do not have that capability with the Leupold. Hope you found this helpful. If you liked it, please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree. Thanks.